Attorney General William P. Barr has announced the launch of Operation Legend. The feds are coming in to help assist with law enforcement in cities across the country. As many of you know, crime has been skyrocketing. Not just regular old crime, political violence, rioting, but yes, regular shootings, burglaries, murders are on the rise in cities across the country. And many people have been saying, when will the DOJ and the feds get involved and actually start dealing with this? Because unfortunately, the Democrats who run these cities where the crime is breaking out aren't doing anything. The other day on the IRL podcast, I asked the question. I was complaining. What's going on? We've got people blocking highways and no one does anything about it. This is federal jurisdiction. When are they going to come and actually start arresting these people who are engaging in a sustained effort to weaken or dismantle our economy? We just heard from Ilhan Omar where she said, the economy and the political systems create inequity. And so long as these systems exist, we must strive to dismantle systems of oppression or whatever. And many people took that to be her saying, dismantle the economy, dismantle the political system. And that makes sense when you take a look at everything they've tried destroying. The violence seems to be on the rise. The rioting has not stopped. Portland is being besieged. Well, hey, here we are. Bill Barr's coming in. Now, here's what's interesting. We have a poll here. This was published by, I believe it was Express. They say, shock election poll. Black Lives Matter protests will get Trump re-elected. Now, this I can't say is surprising, but there's a lot of data, polls suggesting Trump is going to lose. And I don't think you can ignore this. Just because we have 2 or 3 polls coming out right now saying Trump is actually going to win doesn't mean he will. It really just means we don't know. And maybe that's the goal. It is a fact that psychologically people want to vote for the winner. And when polls come out saying this person is going to win, many people just say, okay, I'll vote for that person. But now we have some polls and some reason to believe that the data could favor Donald Trump. For one, many of these polls that claim Trump is way down, and this is published by Politico. They said that the pollsters have never figured out how to reach non-college educated white voters, which is what got Trump elected in 2016. And that may be true now. However, another forecasting model suggests that the primary votes predict the winner with complete historical accuracy. In fact, the guy who produced this predicted Trump would win in 2016 and says that Trump has a 91% chance to win re-election now. So maybe what we're really seeing is an effort by people in media to convince you that Trump can't win and to give up, or they're just so biased. They're doing the same thing they did with Hillary Clinton, and they're sitting there laughing about how they got this in the bag and Trump could never win. And we'll see what happens. Because I will tell you this. With Attorney General Bill Barr launching Operation Legend, it's starting in Kansas City. I like it. I do. These are the things that I have been talking about. And I'll tell you what, man, maybe that's their goal. Why hasn't Trump or Barr or anybody gone in and actually started enforcing laws? Maybe they want it to simmer a little bit so that people like me, moderates, get angry, demand action, and then when they do it, feel satisfied. I'm not trying to allege that they're doing it on purpose because I don't know, right? I'm just entertaining the idea from sort of a devil's advocate, kind of perspective. I'll just tell you this. With Trump announcing the Garden of Heroes, that made me very happy. With Trump announcing that they were going to send out Federal Protective Services and DHS to protect statues, made me very happy. The launching of Operation Legend also makes me very happy. And so because of these efforts, for me, and this is what I've been seeing, I'm becoming satisfied with the job being done. I think Trump is doing the right thing to actually start dealing with the widespread violence, and the Democrats have only encouraged it, ignoring the riots. Now, they can try and play the game where they're like, we're just supporting the peaceful protests, but I just beg them, please denounce the far left. No. What do we get? Nadler comes out and says imaginary things like Antifa. They're not imaginary. They've sent me death threats. I just got death threats like the other day. They threaten me all the time. And they're avowed. They fly the banner. They fly the flag. I understand it's not like they're part of they have chapter meetings. Wait, no, actually they do. It's not one big parent organizations. They have small cells, but they exist. The Democrats ignore this, and the Democrats entertain and promote the protests, which harbors the far left, the violence, and the destruction. Why won't they denounce it? Why won't they call it out? Why do they ignore it? I don't know, man, because maybe they want Trump to win. Is that the game? You think Sleepy Joe is going to do anything to protect us? There's no way. When right now we are dealing with widespread rioting, violence, vandalism, children being killed, that Joe Biden is I can't imagine people perceive him as being the guy who's going to step up and shut this down. Maybe they're thinking that they can hold you hostage. That's it, right? The Democrats are going to keep promoting and entertaining this stuff until you vote for them. Then they'll tell everyone to stop. It's like a racket. You want the violence to go away. You want your business back. Look, fat. Well, the violence will stop when you vote for me. Remember when Hillary Clinton said that? Civility can return when we win or something to that effect. Nah, I'm not playing that game. Drop the hammer on these people. You want to destroy, you want to attack people, you want to be a criminal, you want to be violent, then I want to see Bill Barr come in and drop the hammer. He's starting with Kansas City. Let's read the statement from the DOJ. They say today, Attorney General William P. Barr announces the launch of Operation Legend, a sustained, systematic, and coordinated law enforcement initiative across all federal enforcement agencies, working in conjunction with state and local law enforcement officials to fight the sudden surge of violent crime, beginning in Kansas City, Missouri. Operation Legend was created as a result of President Trump's promise to assist America's cities that are plagued by recent violence. I like it. Listen, I'll tell you what. You want to talk COVID? I'll talk COVID. But right now, my concern is the collapsing economy, and my concern, they are immediate. Here's a lesson. Okay, let me give you some advice for the left and the Democrats. When you come out repeatedly and say things like COVID is Trump's fault, that is meaningless. It offers me nothing. They're telling us now that if we want to go outside New Jersey, no matter what, we got to wear a mask. Okay, I get it. COVID is happening. I don't know when you say it's Trump's fault what that means. When you say something like, Andrew Cuomo put COVID patients in nursing homes, that's something tangible. That's what the right says. And I say, wow, that results in death. When they say they're shutting down the economy, they're taking away your jobs for these reasons, I understand that. Maybe I won't hold it against them. But when the Democratic politicians also come out at the same time and say, good for you protests, but no 4th of July, that is tangible. That's me saying, you have made the problem worse. So I want to know what the solution is. I'll tell you what's going on. I've got concerns. How do we recover the economy? How do we get back on track? And how do we stop the violence? What are we getting from Donald Trump? He's talking about building statues, honoring our heroes, because I actually listen to what he says. I don't just follow the media. Maybe people don't hear that. I ask the Democrats what they offer, and they say everybody should wear a mask. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I get that. But you're not telling me what you're going to do other than you shutting down the economy is hurting things, but you're simultaneously promoting these protests, which results in violence. And then you say Antifa is imaginary, Nadler. That to me sounds like the Democrats are offering up a net negative and Donald Trump is offering up a net positive. I'm not saying that Trump is going to solve every problem or is doing a good job. I'm saying that if I'm looking to dig myself out of a hole, it's a joke, then why would I vote for Democrats who are going down when Donald Trump is pushing dirt into the hole to which I can stand on? That's not a good thing. It's not a good feeling, but at least at some point I can climb out, right? This law enforcement effort is the right thing because violence has been escalating. And it wasn't Trump and it wasn't Barr who have been encouraging people to go out and continue to protest on highways, for instance. No, it's the Democrats and Mayor Durkin in Seattle who allowed this to continue. It's Atlanta who allowed this to continue. And who's stepping up to solve the problem? Bill Barr. Yep. Jenny Durkin of Seattle didn't do anything until they went to her house. Now, this may be late. Fine, but the federal government doesn't enforce state and local laws for the most part. There are certain instances where they can. My question is, with these protesters for 19 days doing the stupid shuffle dance or whatever on the highway, can't the feds come in? Am I wrong about this? Can't the feds come in and be like, yo, you're on an interstate that's federal jurisdiction. We're going to arrest you. They didn't want to do it. Now somebody died and a guy's going to go to prison for a vehicular homicide charge up in Seattle. Let's keep reading. Operation Legend is named after 4-year-old Legend Taliaferro, who was shot and killed while he slept early in the morning of June 29th in Kansas City, the latest in a string of violence to plague Kansas City in recent weeks. Kansas City has already reached 100 homicides this year, a 40% increase from last year. Quote, President Trump has made clear the federal government stands ready and willing to assist any of our state and local enforcement partners across the nation responding to violent crime. Operation Legend will combine federal and local resources to combat the disturbing uptick in violence by surging federal agents and other federal assets into cities like Kansas City, a city currently experiencing its worst homicide rate in history, said Attorney General Barr. The department's Operation Legend is named in honor of one of Kansas City's youngest victims, 4-year-old Legend Taliaferro, who was shot in the face while sleeping in his bed. Legend's death is a horrifying reminder that violent crime left unchecked is a threat to us all and cannot be allowed to continue. As part of Operation Legend, Attorney General Barr directed federal agents from the FBI, U.S. Marshal Service, DEA, and ATF to surge resources to Kansas City in the coming weeks to help state and local officials fight the surge of violent crime. They will be working alongside state and local law enforcement agencies. Department of Justice assets will continue over 100 FBI agents, U.S. Marshals, DEA agents, and ATF will include over 100 FBI, U.S. Marshal, DEA, and ATF agents. In addition, Timothy A. Garrison, U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Missouri, will be surging additional resources from his office to ensure he is available to handle an anticipated increase in prosecutions. Bring it on. Look, the political violence makes me angry. Antifa, the far left, the Black Lives Matter extremists, say in Atlanta, who killed these people. I want to see these people prosecuted. But there's regular old crime, too. When the police are demoralized and they're calling in sick and you're trying to defund or abolish them, you are going to have weakened law enforcement. Trump is bolstering this, resisting the far left. I respect that. Where are the Democrats? They have been entertaining and placating this group because I tell you, man, they think they can wield that power to get them elected, but they don't understand that the people that they have enlisted to help them win. In fact, what they have done is going to guarantee a Donald Trump victory. Okay, maybe a little exaggerated. It will lend itself to a Donald Trump victory. Check this out. The fallout from the Black Lives Matter protests in the U.S. offers Donald Trump his best chance of winning the presidential election, a shock poll for the Sunday Express has revealed. Donald Trump down in the polls, a faltering economy, collapsing. We've got delinquencies in mortgage-backed securities. We've got, I think it's like 32% of U.S. households. Let's check this out. 32% of U.S. households missed their July housing payments. These are bad things for Trump, man. And many people say this crippled economy, it doesn't matter if it was Trump's fault or not. People are going to say, I vote for change. And maybe they'll vote for Joe Biden. But I'll tell you what, that all gets washed away. You know why? I can't stop and think about my payments, my bills, the economy at all, when there are roving bands of extremists tearing down statues, defacing statues, burning buildings, and fighting the police in the street in various cities. Now, to be fair, it's not happening everywhere. And Trump may be making a mistake. So some people have speculated that the violence we're seeing is being amplified by, people like me, for instance, because it is, I do find it disconcerting that we're seeing these statues torn down across the country. But what is the average person talking about? Well, if they watch Fox News, they're seeing similar things. But if they don't watch Fox News and they watch CNN, they just see Orange Man bad and they're told Antifa doesn't exist. So when Trump comes out and focuses on this, he's making a bet. I think he's making the right bet for one reason. Tucker Carlson's ratings are the highest in cable TV history, followed in second place with Hannity. So you're getting a high concentration, a large group of people very active in following this stuff. Perhaps these people will start speaking. It's hard to know for sure. CNN is seeing a ratings surge, and there are many more channels that are not Fox News. So it's possible that you have many more people who don't know about what's going on and don't care. Donald Trump is focusing on building statues, protecting statues, and stopping the far left violence. But is this something regular Americans are paying attention to? I am, because this kind of stuff is what I care about. If you don't care about the violence and the protests, and you're only watching CNN, well, then you're being lied to and you believe ridiculous things. To be fair, I don't think Fox News is perfect either. I think you'll get misled to a certain degree there as well. And I'll also be fair and say, I don't think even if you should not only be watching any one source, you should definitely watch multiple sources. But let's see what the potential is. Why would Donald Trump win on this one? They say, according to a poll conducted by the Washington-based think tank Democracy Institute, President Trump is neck and neck with his rival Joe Biden on 40%. However, Mr. Trump would win the Electoral College system by 309 to 229 because he is on course to win the crucial swing states, including Florida, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, where he outpolls Vice President Biden by about 4 percentage points. The findings come as the U.S. president went to the iconic Mount Rushmore to make a speech about the angry mobs. He told crowds of supporters, there is a new far-left fascism that demands absolute allegiance. If you do not speak its language, perform its rituals, recite its mantras, and follow its commandments, then you will be censored, banished, blacklisted, persecuted, and punished. Not going to happen to us. According to the poll, the concerns over the effects of the protests appear to be boosting Mr. Trump's chances, even though his campaign is believed to be flagging. I mean, lagging or what? Given a choice between which phrases identified their views, 71% chose All Lives Matter, while 29% picked Black Lives Matter. Let me ask you something about that. We've seen this before. There have been 2 other polls showing most people have a positive view of All Lives Matter, and most people do not have a positive view of Black Lives Matter. So what happens when you turn on your favorite video game and a message pops up? I'm not kidding. I think this was Destiny, if you're familiar with the game. And it's like, Black Lives Matter. What happens when you pop up on Amazon? The first suggested list is Black Lives Matter. If most people don't have a favorable view of this, even though they're being inundated by it, what does that suggest? It suggests the efforts by the left, by these corporations, whatever, to pander is not working. In fact, it may be backfiring. I would argue it's possible. If you inundate every single person with this message and their reaction is negative, you are actually hurting yourself. Maybe people are sick and tired of it. I'll tell you something, man. A lot of people say anecdotal evidence is meaningless. And I think, it's fair within reason. But let me tell you, when I see all this stuff, the violence, and it shocks me to my core when they burn down businesses and target minorities. You hear what happened the other day with Lady Antebellum? This band changed their name to Lady A because Antebellum, I guess, is racist or something. It's 3 white people, I guess. And now they're suing a black woman who actually has the name Lady A to take her name from her. This stuff is insane. So no, I'm not buying they actually care about this stuff. But the crazy thing to me is when I get a message from friends of mine from Chicago who are long-standing Chicago Democrats, apparently it means you're a conservative, that's what the far left says, who tell me things like they're sick and tired of it, they're over it, they don't care anymore, they want to go back to watching sports. I'm like, man, maybe these people are getting angry and they're going to go vote Trump. What if because of the violence, we see what we saw in the UK, a 100-year defeat for the left? Areas that have never voted, red in 100 years or so vote red. What if we see areas of Chicago vote for Donald Trump? Maybe because of the violence. I don't know if you guys remember the story. I covered it. There was a leaked phone call between some aldermen and the mayor of Chicago. If you're not familiar, the aldermen are neighborhood politicians. They represent neighborhoods. And in this leaked call, they were cussing each other out. One guy was like, you raised the bridges to downtown Chicago, forcing all the rioters into neighborhoods where people live. See, downtown Chicago, some people live there for sure, but it's mostly not. It's mostly businesses. Actually, I'm not sure if people actually live down there. I bet they would. To varying degrees, there's a condos and stuff within the downtown area. And I guess there's dorms too. But the neighborhoods lie outside. And within a few miles of downtown Chicago, you will start to see nothing but a grid of streets and houses. I'm sure it's the same for many different cities. When the rioters couldn't get into the city because the bridges went up, they turned around and started going through neighborhoods. And the alderman was angry, and he was swearing, and the mayor was swearing back, and he's like, you are sending these people to our homes. What happens to these little neighborhoods that saw this violence and rampaging, and they're angry, and they blame the mayor? What happens when the alderman comes back and says, blame her? She's the one who closed the bridges to protect the financial interests in the city that pushed these rioters to your houses. They're going to be like, wouldn't that be crazy? I think it's fair to say we may see massive voter turnout for sure. I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe not. But look what they're saying. 71% chose All Lives Matter in this poll. That's huge. That's very, very huge. And it could be because a lot of people just don't know. They're not familiar. But I think the left's argument is amplified by social media, this fringe echo chamber that is driving these people insane. I tweeted about it earlier. Let me just tell you, and maybe I'll do a bigger segment on it later today, but let me just say, the right has their conspiracies. Fringe elements of the right with more kooky ideas get banned. You say learn to code, they will ban you. The left can write insane things about Trump being a Russian agent, and it appears on mainstream TV. Right now, you have a viral video where Michael Flynn recited I forget what it's called, but it's the oath you take, I think when you join the military or something, your oath of the Constitution. But he ended by saying, where we go one, we go all, which is the QAnon slogan, I guess. And all of a sudden the media lit up, panicked. Egad, Michael Flynn, did he just say the QAnon words? And they were panicking. And I'm like, I don't care. I really don't care. Not really sure what it means. Whatever, fine, he said it. They're freaking out over this. What happened when that guy for, I think it was New York Mag, said Donald Trump may have been a Russian agent since the 1980s? They were like, come on our show and let's talk about it. Wow, could this be real? That's how the game is played. If you are on the right and you say something like Trump is fighting the deep state and an insider is leaking information, that to them is fringe, chaotic conspiracy. And if you say something like Trump is a Russian agent, they say, really? That's the problem with how this enforcement works. So what do you think the regular American people think? What makes more sense? Trump is fighting a cabal of insiders within the government who have special interests and are not elected, and somebody working with Trump is leaking information? I mean, that's ridiculously plausible. We know people are leaking information for the resistance. Now, personally, I don't believe the QAnon stuff. I'm not interested in any of that. I'm just saying, if I was to tell you, here's the general, thesis. Trump is a Russian agent who is conspiring with foreign agents to subvert our election. They're going to be like, that's nuts. And that was proven to be nuts. So I think at this point, people are looking at this. They're not following the news as much as you'd think. And the people who are being radicalized to an extreme degree. But regular people are probably going, what? This can't be real, can it? They say, meanwhile, with statues of presidents and other historic figures being attacked and pulled down across the U.S., 74% said they disapproved of the actions. 77% disagreed with the assertion supported by many Democratic politicians that Mount Rushmore was racist. Yikes, man. The polls show that 59% approved of the president's handling of the riots, but 40% want him to be tougher. 60% think Mr. Biden has not been critical enough. In addition, and it's funny. Some people have said, what has Biden done about the riots? And they're like, Biden's not in office right now. Biden hasn't said anything. Biden, for the most part, was asked about it. And he's like, well, we shouldn't tear down the statues. The Confederates, I guess, should go in museums. But, is that it? How come Biden doesn't come out and just drop the hammer and said, enough? As president, I will stop this madness. Nah, because Biden is weak. Biden is fake. They say, according to the poll, 55% believe that Biden is suffering from cognitive problems, and 44% say it means that they are less likely to vote for him, while 58% think, age 77, he is too old to be president. So it says worse still is Mr. Biden's mental health. Patrick Basham, the director of Democracy Institute, said, between now and Election Day, the factor that will most influence the final outcome will be the debates between Trump and Biden. Should Biden regain some of his past skill at coasting through such encounters with moderate, platitudinous comments, delivered with a smile, a little humor, and even an everyman demeanor, he will retain a good chance of enjoying a very competitive election. But should Biden have even one senior moment during which he forgets what he is saying or where he is, or the question posed to him, his chances of beating Trump will be somewhere between slim and none. Well, with Operation Legend, Trump is standing up for what he said. He's holding true his promise to actually enforce the law. I think that lends some evidence that there is a hope that Donald Trump could take it. I'll tell you what we need. The Republicans need to sweep because we desperately need Section 230 reform. Other than that, I'm not a fan of all the Republican policies, not at all. But the Democrats will not offer up 230 reform. This is look, Section 230 gives protection to these big tech companies to censor people, essentially. That's what we need. We'll see how it plays out. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel, and I will see you all then.